Hello, everybody. It is Monday evening, and you know what that means. That means it is time for the Sunday Night League. We are here in Suzuka today for the final round of Season 7 Formula X, the SNL World Championship. 5 rounds this season, and we go into this final one at Suzuka, the first real-world circuit of the season, and also the final round. Let's see how this finale is going to go today. But first, let's run you through the grid. So, here in Japan, we have P1, pole position in qualifying. It is Gasman who takes pole position for the second week running. The number 89 Ferrari doing very well in qualifying, into the 37s, I believe, and I will just pull up the standings quickly so that I can run you through what they are. So, first of all, Gasman on pole position is in 7th in the championship. I'll run you, well, hold on, I'll do standings and then I'll do, as I go through the grid, and I'll do tires quickly afterwards. So, Gasman is in 7th in the standings on pole position. He will be having a clear run down to turn 1 from the outside line. Second on the grid, a brilliant qualifying for Slenderfella puts him second in the Red Bull. Slenderfella in 5th in the championship on 56 points compared to, I forgot to mention it, but Gasman on 52 points, so only 4 points separate them, as well as, not this driver, apologies, Aloe in 3rd on, on the grid, and in the standings in 8th with 46 points. So Aloe lining up in 3rd, a great qualifying for the Lotus driver. We'll see how he does today. But next up is 4th position. Jam, SNL Jam, was in the championship fight. Unfortunately, I believe that because of the amount of people we have today, I believe he is not in the championship fight, unfortunately. If you give me one quick second, I can double check that. I just need about 2 more seconds to finish calculating this. That is not the standings. Yes, I believe Jam is just out of contention due to the numbers on the grid today, meaning the lowest amount of points that Matt, Psycho, and Bunnies, the two ahead of him, could score is a bit too high, unfortunately, for Jam. So Jam just out of contention, very, very close to being in contention, but the Williams driver will line up on 4th on the grid today. Still very good nonetheless. As I'm just noticing, rather unfortunately, these drivers, some of them seem to be not properly lined up in their grid boxes. Jam just slightly off to the side seems to line up with all the other drivers, so possibly that's just that particular grid box is a bit strange. But yes, Jam, the Williams driver, lining up in 4th and in 3rd in the championship. So looking good for him on 68 points, his nearest rival being Daz. We'll get to Daz later. But for the time being, it's the Punisher here in 5th, the McLaren driver, the first of the 2 McLaren drivers this week. With that special Japanese helmet there, you can see a beautiful white and red helmet. The Punisher lining up in 5th. The Punisher is in 14th in the championship on 20 points. So Punisher doing quite well today to qualify in 5th. We'll see how he goes throughout the race. Next up is Speckmere. Speckmere is tied with Gasman on points in the 6th in the championship. Speckmere also lines up 6th on the grid. So the Lotus driver will be looking to move forwards. He'll want to beat Gasman today to stay ahead of him in the championship. At the moment, he's ahead on countback with 2 podiums to his name compared to Gasman's 0. Speckmere will also be wanting to move up ahead of Slenderfella in an effort to bring himself up into fifth in the championship. I believe Speckmere's best championship result, having been third in Formula X, having been third in season 5, only behind Cool Dude Boy and Bunnies that season, back when he was in the Toyota. Next up is Intulu. Intulu, the reserve, filling in for SNL Wolfbane again. Intulu himself in last place in the championship, 18th on 5 points, replacing Wolfbane on 25 points. So Intulu doing quite well in qualifying today, getting himself 7th place on the grid. As I said, very well in that 2021 Ferrari. Now it is Pat. Pat in 8th on the grid, a great qualifying from the Red Bull driver. Wasn't able to race last round, unfortunately. Pat, on 9 points, is in 16th in the championship. Pat lining up on 8th today, doing very well for himself. Then it's the two Renaults, as you can see here. We'll start with the first of them. It is Rob on Drums. Rob on Drums sits in 10th in the championship on 34 points, only 4 points behind Cthulhu ahead of him. Only 9 points ahead of Wolfbane behind him. 10th in the championship, Rob on Drums, and 9th on the grid. We'll see how Rob can do today in the Renault. Very fitting helmet there. You got that yellow and white, as well as the yellow and white car. Looks excellent. But next up, we have Matt Psycho. His teammate Matt Psycho leads the championship and only starts in 10th on the grid. So Matt Psycho, not a very good qualifying for the Brit, for the Renault driver. He'll be looking to do well here today. He's known to go well in Suzuka. We'll see how he does today, though. As I said, fighting, for example, for the win with Wolfbane and Cool Dude Boy back in Season 4, I believe. Commentating in Season 5, though, so no experience in Suzuka in Formula X on GT7 yet. Today will be his first race in that at Suzuka on GT7. In Formula X, at least. But in GTE, on the other hand, he did win back in Season 2. He won every race that season in GTE, but so having won in Suzuka before, we know he goes well at Suzuka. Matt Psycho leads the championship on 95 points. We'll see how that goes today for him. We've got Pool Shark, number 36. Pool Shark here, he is in 17th in the championship with 6 points, but Pool Shark qualifying in 11th today, so a solid qualifying result for him. He'll be looking to move up the grid a bit, though. And the two people who will be looking to move up the grid the most, I'd say, are probably our last row. First off, we have Bunnies here in 12th, starting right behind his championship rival. You can see the back of Matt Psycho's car there. Bunnies in second in the championship, the number 1 reigning champion, going for the championship again. He is only 2 points behind his championship rival, Matt Psycho. So, Bunnies will absolutely be pushing to overtake Matt Psycho and do as best he can. It is effectively a battle between those two of who can finish in front during this race. Matt Psycho, known to go well at Suzuka. Bunnies, known so well for going well at Suzuka. Matter of fact, kind of known for going a bit poorly. Season 3 and Season 5 being quite terrible results for him at Suzuka. Fighting for the championship in Season 5. Pretty horrible round for him there. Cool Dude Boy, on the other hand, that day having a brilliant round, taking the championship. This time, Bunnies once again fighting for the championship at Suzuka. Once again on the on sort of the lower hand, but Bunnies will be going for it once again this time from 12th on the grid. 13th, on the other hand, though, is BRC Daz, 4th in the championship, 67 points, only 1 point behind Jam in the championship, just barely out of contention for the championship as well. The Tyrrell driver, the only Tyrrell driver today, number 51, he will be looking to make up many positions today. Daz has been a Formula X winner in the past, but from 13th on the grid today, obviously the win would be optimal for him, be the best possible result for anyone on the grid, obviously, but Daz, a previous winner in Formula X, it's going to be difficult today, though, from 13th on the grid. So that is your grid for today. Unfortunately, Cthulhu and Bailey not joining us for just I honestly can't remember what reasons. But Jim Joker also, you'll notice, not joining us. Unfortunately, Jim Joker with a race ban due to penalty points. So not optimal for the Williams driver. Jam will be the only Williams driver on the grid. Pool Shark will be the only Mercedes driver on the grid. And Daz will be the only Tyrrell driver on the grid. So let's run you through the Constructors' standings, though, as well, as there is still a Constructors' Championship battle as well. It is mathematically, I believe, between all 7 of the 8 teams. Renault in first on 129 points, McLaren in second on 113 points, Tyrrell in third on 105, fourth is Lotus with 98, Williams in fifth with 89, 82 for Ferrari in sixth, 80 for Red Bull in seventh, and the only team not in contention, I believe, being Mercedes on 34 points. So, let's take a look at the tires for today. There we go. So, the 2 Red Bulls, soft, medium for both of them. That's Pat and Slenderfella, both soft, medium. The 2 Renaults, soft for Rob on drums, an extremely soft compound, or allocation, I should say, for today. Soft, medium, hard for Matt Psycho. In terms of the championship, he and Bunnies are the two most important tire allocations, so I'll repeat them afterwards for the sake of the championship. And I'll mention the championship permutations as well. I believe that's the right word, permutations. Anyways, in Tulu on soft, hard for the Ferrari, Gasman soft, medium. Mercedes, Bailey is soft, medium, as well as Pool Shark, soft, medium, although Bailey unfortunately not racing today, as we said. Jam for Williams, soft, medium, hard, the same as Matt Psycho. Tyrrell, Daz, soft, medium, hard, the same as Jam and Matt Psycho. So Jam and Daz evenly matched there, only 1 point separating the two of them. McLaren, soft, medium, hard for Bunnies, soft, medium for Punisher. So Bunnies and Matt, both soft, medium, hard, as well as Jam and Daz. So soft, medium, hard for those 4. They've often been towards the front of the grid this season. We'll see if that remains. Jam, honestly, the only one starting particularly far up the grid, though. Jam in 4th. Matt, Bunnies, and Daz in 10th, 12th, and 13th. Lotus, Spec Mirror on soft, hard, and soft, medium for Aloe. Spec Mirror and Gasman are even on points going into this round. Soft, medium for Gasman, soft, hard for Spec Mirror. So, between those two, must be said that Gasman has the advantage, but both of those drivers in solid positions. And as I said, championship battle between Bunnies and between Matt Psycho, soft, medium, hard for both of them. We'll see how that goes today. And yeah, and why don't I just run you through very briefly what the championship situation is for the two of them. As I said, 2 points separate them on 95 and 93 points respectively. So, apologies, I've just veered off course with the camera there. Let's take a look at the grid while I explain this quickly. If they both finish anywhere 9th or above, or apologies, hold on. It is whoever finishes higher if the two of them finish between 9th and 1st, I believe, because yes, because, for example, if Bunnies finished 8th, he'd get 10 points. 9th would be Matt getting, if Matt got 9th, he'd get 8 points. That'd be a 2-point difference, and Bunnies would then win on countback due to his 2 wins. So if they finish 9th or higher, it's just whoever finishes higher if they both finish top 9. After that, Matt Psycho must finish at least within one. No, actually, I tell you what. Oh, this is so confusing. I wish someone had calculated this for me. I can't do maths on the fly. Either way, it's effectively whoever finishes in front between the two of them, because Bunnies with 2 points back. Basically, if Bunnies finishes only one position ahead of Matt and he's finishing 9th or lower, then Matt maintains the championship lead. Although if Matt finishes even 2 positions behind him, Bunnies will take it on count back. Although if Bunnies finishes only 1 point ahead and gets fastest lap, then it goes to count back, as I said, and Bunnies would win. So Matt certainly with the upper hand, having 2 points more, but those maths being very difficult for me to do, unfortunately. As I have been looking at the standings, haven't been able to get to the stream, unfortunately. As Pat mentioning his helmet, it's something I had noticed, actually, and I forgot to mention it. Pat, I believe, using a Sebastian Vettel tribute helmet. Just figured I'd point that out, seeing as he mentioned it in the comments. Yep, you can see it there. As his car disappears for a split second. And so, yeah, Pat using a Sebastian Vettel helmet. That's quite entertaining to see, I must say. I love to see that little tribute helmet. Seb loving Suzuka, he's said many times. Solo Moretti saying good evening to you as well. Good evening to Rob on Drums. I missed that. Good evening, bro, says Rob on Drums. We'll ignore the other comments. That's not as important. Matter of fact, I tell you what. Well, yeah, that's the other comments just don't matter, do they? We only really care about the kind comments here. That is what we strive for here in SNL. So, good evening, YouTuber guy, says Sam. Good evening to you as well. Right, let's get into the race. 28 laps ahead of Suzuka, it's the season finale. Gasman lines up on pole, our championship contenders 10th and 12th. Let's get this underway. 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's lights out, and we are racing here at Suzuka. It's a good start for Slenderfella. The first phase of his launch, very good, but it looks like Gasman has the traction through the second part. No, Slenderfella sticks it down the inside into turn 1. Through turn 2, he's through. Gasman losing some position, losing a position there as Poolshark off the track in the background. Let's take a look here. Daz and Punisher. Punisher has had a bad beginning to the race. He's down to 12th already from 5th on the grid, and that's Bunnies ahead of Matt. So Bunnies has jumped Matt. Bunnies is ahead and in the championship, provisionally winning the championship at the moment, but it is lap 1. We're halfway through lap 1, not even, so that is not the biggest worry at the moment. Gasman leading the way now, though. He's back ahead of Slenderfella. How did he do that? I've missed that. As let's just take a look quickly. We're back in season... oh, apologies. My headset is about to die. Hold on one moment. My headset is about to die. I need to plug it in. I can hear it beeping at me angrily. Give me 1 second, please. Just plug it in. Luckily, I can still talk while my headset is plugged in. Solo saying Gasman wins prediction. Who Gasman, says Sam. Gasman is your current race leader, and he got back ahead of Slenderfella at the beginning of the S's. Let's take a look further back. Is there any more movement? We saw Bunnies is ahead of Matt Psycho. He is indeed. Now Rob on Drums challenging his teammate. Daz is going to be sat behind Rob on Drums, looking for a way through. We're going to go down towards Degner 1 now. It's going to be difficult to overtake here. Everyone's seemingly making it through. Oh no, Rob on Drums off track. Punisher off track. Those two just making mistakes, those two North American drivers off track. Unfortunately, Poolshark making it up into 11th with that. Daz still behind there, and that's Bunnies and Pat side by side. Bunnies on the outside. He's going to be looking to make a move on Pat. He can't make it down towards Spoon Curve. He is not going to be able to make it up into 7th at the moment. Matt Psycho sitting in his slipstream. Matt and Bunnies in the championship fight. Intulu on the back of a Lowy. This looks like it could be a good battle here. Let's go on board with Intulu for a moment. On the run down to 130R. He's in the slipstream. He's gaining. He's gaining. Is the Ferrari driver going to look for a move? He lifts off slightly. It's Lowy having a slight snap there through 130R. He almost goes down the inside of his teammate. Looking back, Bunnies and Pat are battling. Bunny's trying to get through into 7th. He needs it for his championship. He's going to want to get ahead and put people between him and Matt. But Matt now is getting through on Pat as well. Very opportunistic, taking advantage of Bunnies getting through on Pat, putting Pat offline. Matt Psycho is through, and Bunnies has no cars between him and his championship rival. That is the championship battle there. Up in front, though, it's Gasman out in front. He's doing very well to keep in front of Slenderfella. Slenderfella about a second off at the beginning of this lap. Jam now in 3rd. Jam doing very well. He's gained 1 position off the start. Specmere and Aloe, the two Lotuses running close together as we've seen them doing many times this season. These two very close on pace. Aloe doing very well this season. It must be said he's been very quick basically since Season 5 Road Atlanta, and something has happened to Matt Psycho here. Let's take a look at what. He runs wide, he's on the AstroTurf, and he half spins. That is a very impressive save from the championship contender, from the Renault driver, but he still loses 2 positions. He's fallen behind Pat, and he's fallen behind Daz. He's already down the inside of Daz. Daz runs wide there, possibly missing his braking. Punisher down in 13th, a little ways off the back of the grid, but Rob on drums doing well to recover from his mistake at Degner 1. Still close to Poolshark, or relatively close at least. There's a yellow flag. Who's this for? It looked like there was some smoke there. Let's go back. Was it Intulu, possibly? I think he might have dropped a position or 2. What has happened here? Somebody's off. It's not... who is it? Is it? Oh, Gasman's lost a position. It might be Gasman. Let's take a look at Gasman. Gasman out in the lead. He goes into Spoon. He runs wide. He's on the AstroTurf and he loops it round. Gasman spins round. The Scott down to 2nd. Slenderfella through into the lead. Jam takes 2nd. Now it's going to be pressure from Specmere on the back of the Ferrari. Specmere makes the move to the left-hand side of the Ferrari. Specmere is through into the podium positions. Now it's going to be a Lowy trying to see, is he close enough to Gasman to make a move? Gasman having recovered nicely. He's even going to try and look down the inside of Specmere. Thinks better of it in the end. The Ferrari driver managing to keep 4th position, though, after that spin. A Lowy, though, actually pressuring the back of Gasman. Gasman is going to be down to 5th in a moment if he's not careful here. Gasman, he looks like he's going to be overtaken. Can Lowy get him? It's going to be on the outside of turn 1. Can he make the move? He swoops around the outside, but it's later braking from Gasman. Gasman maintains the position. Gasman in 4th. A brilliant defense there from the Scott. He keeps 4th position. And Tulu and Bunnies at the back of this train. This whole train now is Slenderfella. Actually, Slenderfella's driven completely away from this train. Look at the gap he has. That is a solid couple of seconds. Then you've got Jam in 2nd, Specmere, Gasman, Aloe, and Tulu, and Bunnies are the rest of that train. You've got 2nd down to 7th in a train. Ooh, Bunnies looking at the inside of Intulu, and Tulu makes a mistake. He goes wide, and Bunnies is through. The Canadian takes 6th position ahead of the Portuguese driver. Matt Psycho has made up for his mistakes. He's ahead of Daz. He's ahead of Pat. Pat actually having made a mistake, and Punisher is off track. What has happened to the McLaren driver? The Punisher in 13th. Pat here. Oh, Pat is our... Oh, contact. Contact between the Brit and the Canadian. What has happened here? Pat. Oh, he looks like he's slow there already, possibly. He might have made a little bit of a mistake. It's hard to tell. Number 4, running through the end of Dunlop down towards Degner 1, makes a mistake on the grass, clips the wall. Oh, and there's nothing he can do to stop himself. He just clips the Canadian. Punisher, not what he will have wanted there, and Pat Ever the Sportsman letting Punisher through. Good to see that sportsmanship from those two drivers there. Let's take a look towards the front of the grid. This train here, it's Jam, Speckmere, Gasman, Aloe, Bunnies, Intulu. That is your train from 2nd, 7th. I've said it already, but you can see Matt Psycho there pushing to try and catch up. You can see the Tyrrell behind him, Daz in 9th, also sticking in Matt Psycho's slipstream. They'll both be trying to catch up to this train. Their first target will be in Tulu. And Tulu in 7th is falling a tiny bit off the back of Bunnies here. He's still reasonably in this train, but he is falling off the back of it a little bit. And then you've got Rob on drums here in 10th. 11th is Pool Shark, and I love this camera view. I love that the game has allowed me to stick with it throughout that chicane for so many drivers. That was a beautiful camera view, I have to say. And I might see about taking some photos from that view later on. It's a 39 flat from Slenderfella, though. That is your fastest lap of the race at the moment. And Pat saying, well, you nearly missed the start of my downfall. Apologies for catching that, Pat. Just looked very chaotic, though. Slenderfella, though, doing excellently out in front. We've seen Slenderfella with some immense pace all season long, but never quite at the front of the grid. Always close, but not quite there. Today he is there, and he is dominating so far in the Red Bull. A little bit too reminiscent of Max Verstappen for my likings. We'll see if he can maintain that, though. It'd be an excellent, excellent result for Slenderfella if he can, though. It's Jam in 2nd, though. Gasman pressuring him in 3rd. Gasman back up to 3rd, so he's ahead of Speckmere now. I missed that, unfortunately. Speckmere down to 4th. Now it's the two Lotuses right near each other, as they often are. The two Brits, Aloe and Speckmere, they drive very, very well together. They're both very quick. I have to say, going into the season, they were one of my top predictions for the Constructors' Championship, apologies. Them and Tyrrell were my top predictions, although at the moment, it's looking like Renault and McLaren are the top contenders for the championship, being 1st and 2nd in the Constructors, but Aloe in 5th. But it's Bunnies right behind him, and it looked like Bunnies was a little bit closer to him on this lap than previously. It's Bunnies setting a 39.9. It's a 38.4 for Slenderfella, and I tell you what, the ones that are really close together are Gasman and Jam. Gasman on the inside of turn 1 makes it through. Jam having to back out in the end. Gasman through into 2nd. Jam in 3rd. Now Speckmere. He's going to sense an opportunity here. Can the Lotus driver take advantage of the overtake Gasman made on Jam to get ahead of Jam himself? It's Brit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we've got a little bit more nationalities. We've got 6th is a Canadian, 7th is a Portuguese, but then we've got a Brit again in 8th. And so just sort of noticing that, some British dominance going on at the moment. Speckmere a little bit wide through Degner too. And let's take a quick look at the overtake. So you can see here Slenderfella with over less than a quarter even having been used of his overtake so far. Gasman having used nearly half of his deployment. Jam just over a quarter. Speckmere almost half. Aloe just under a quarter. Bunnies just over a quarter used. In Tulu, about quarter and a half used. Matt Psycho, just under a quarter used. Almost exactly a quarter used for Daz, about an 8th used for Rob. Pool Shark having used barely any of his overtake. Punisher having used nearly half. And Pat having used about an 8th. Slenderfella crosses the line. It's not a new fastest lap, but it's another fantastic one, a 38.6. From the Brit. That is brilliant. It's a 38.5 from Gasman, though. He's gaining on the Red Bull driver now, only by a 10th on that lap, but he is still gaining, and it's only a 41.1 for Jam. Jam falling off the back of Gasman quite rapidly, but I tell you what, Speckmere behind Jam, and Bunnies ahead of Aloe now. When has this happened? It seems like they're side by side into the chicane. When did this start? Down towards 130R, it's Bunnies and Aloe. They're going to be side by side into 130R. Can the Lotus and the McLaren driver do it? The Canadian and the Brit. Excellent racing from the two of them, giving each other room. Aloe on the outside, Bunnies on the inside, but now it's Bunnies on the outside, Aloe on the inside. And Aloe seems to run into the back of his teammate under braking. That knocks him slightly further down, and Bunnies is through. Bunnies has made the move on one of the two Lotuses. He'll be looking to overtake the other Lotus. This is probably his best race in Suzuka Asuka that we've ever seen in SNL. Bunny's doing very well here today. Season 4 was a solid result for him at Suzuka if I remember correctly, but Bunny's doing even better here today. But the man who was in the fight for the win that day in Season 4, Matt Psycho, is Bunny's championship rival. He's in 8th position. Matt Psycho running nicely here, but he'll need to gain a couple positions. As it stands, 6 laps into the race, a long way to go, so this is purely provisional, but as it stands, Bunny's in prime position to win the championship. He's got 2 cars between himself and Matt Psycho. The McLaren driver has several seconds between him and Matt Psycho. But I tell you what, Matt Psycho not far off the back of Intulu now. The Ferrari will be coming under pressure from the Renault in any time now. Any lap, I would expect to see Matt going for a move on Intulu. Let's look further up. Yasmin pushing away from Jam, but Slenderfella still looking comfortable out in first. Jam, as I said, falling off the back of Yasmin, but he's pulling away ever so slightly from Specmere. Bunnies with a 40.5 last lap, gaining on Specmere and Jam last lap. 41.3 for Lowy, losing the position to Bunnies last lap even, but Bunnies now on the back of Specmere. He's going to be looking for a move soon enough, coming very close to the back of the Brit. The Lotus driver, though, maintaining the position. It's a Lotus sandwich, or I suppose technically a McLaren sandwich, given you generally name the sandwich based off the filling, not the bread. But, as we often say in racing, though, it is a Lotus sandwich. And Specmere running in 4th behind Jam. Jam through the S's now. Let's see, here on lap 7, there was some dust being brought up by Bunnies. So Bunnies, it looks like maybe he's pushing a bit more than the others in front of him, taking a little bit more liberties in terms of pushing the limits of the circuit. Let's take a look here, see a Lowy on the back of them. This train a lot smaller than it was before, more just 3rd to 6th as opposed to 6th or 2nd to 7th. Intulu not too far off the back. Oh, as Aloe's made a mistake. Aloe's off at Degner 2. Aloe off at Degner 2. You can see some smoke there, not sure what that was from, but Aloe, let's go on board with him. What happens here? He's in the slipstream of Bunnies. He's not too close to him, but he's in the slipstream. He touches the grass on entering, and I bet that's what caused that mistake, because he looks like he just understeers. And I tell you what, I'm willing to bet Aloe touching the grass on his way into Degner 1 was what caused that mistake there. Probably just losing grip on the front left. Sam and Pat saying hello to each other in the chat. Intulu, though, running nicely in 6th. Matt on the back of him, and I think Daz might have made a mistake last lap, because a slower lap time and falling off the back of Matt. In 8th there, though. Aloe down to 9th, not what he will have wanted from that mistake. Would have hoped he could have recovered a little bit quicker and maintained his position. Not unfortunately able to do that, though. Punisher in 10th. Rob on drums in 11th, Pool Shark in 12th, and 13th is Pat. Pat not too far off the back of the grid. Pat, I know he had some a mistake or two earlier, but Pat doing well in 13th now, not being too far off the back of the grid. Although the entire grid is in a Red Bull sandwich, as it is his teammate Slenderfella leading the way. Slenderfella doing very well for himself at the moment. The number 21. Running nicely through the S section. He's purple by almost 2.5 tenths, and Gasman with the fastest lap of the race, a 38.426. That is a brilliant lap from the Ferrari driver. You'd be hard-pressed to beat that throughout the rest of this race. Here on lap 8, Jam in 3rd. Oh, Bunnies is ahead of Specmere. Where has that happened? He's a little bit too far ahead at this point already. I would imagine it probably happened through the chicane or something, but the Canadian up into 4th, the championship contender at the moment in a net championship leading position, and so the Bunnies doing very well for himself. Matt in 7th, though, he's still on the back of Intulu. He's struggling to overtake him, and I tell you what, this is a perfect time to take a look at the tires. Slenderfella on softs at the moment. Softs for Gasman, mediums for Jam, so Jam doing very well on this stint to be on mediums and up in 3rd. Bunnies on softs, Specmere on softs, and Tulu on softs. Matt, though, notably on mediums. So Matt on mediums, He's not too far off the back of Bunnies, a couple cars between them, but only a few seconds separating them. Bunnies on softs, Matt on mediums. They both have soft, medium, hard for this round, so presumably next stint Matt will be on the softs while Bunnies is on the mediums, and that will be advantage Matt the same way it is advantage Bunnies at the moment. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see how that goes after the pit stops. Daz on mediums, Aloe on softs, Punisher on softs, Rob on drums on softs, softs for Pool Shark, and softs for Pat. Look at the gaps that are forming out at the front of the grid, though. Slenderfella's gap is slowly coming down to Gasman, but it's still very sizable. Then it's Gasman. Look at the gap he has to Jam. Jam has a solid but not massive gap to Bunnies. And then you got the really close together guys. It's Bunnies and Speckmere are running quite close together. Speckmere doing very well to cling on to the back of second place in the championship. Intulu running nicely, but a solid gap between him and Speckmere. Then you've got Matt, not far off the back of Intulu. A solid way back is Daz, right behind him is Aloe. Then you've got a solid gap to Punisher, and then medium-sized gaps, I would say, between Rob on drums and Punisher, Rob on drums, and Pool Shark, and then a sizable margin back to Pat. And Rob on drums seems to have made a mistake in the S section. Let's take a look at what's happened to the American. Let's ride on board with him. The Renault driver, just pushing a little bit too hard through that S, and a very easy place to lose the car, but doing a very good job to recover it and get it back on track. Stays out of the way of Pool Shark. Very respectful driving there from Rob. Good on him for staying out of the way of Pool Shark after that mistake. Jam in third, a personal best lap last lap, a personal best lap time last lap, a 39 flat, almost, a 39.084, a 40.3 comparatively for Bunnies. So Bunnies 1.3 seconds off of Jam last lap. We'll take a look as they cross the line this lap, since we can. 38.5 for Gasman. It was a 38.9 for Slenderfella for reference. Jam, it's a 39.9, a 38.7 for Bunnies, so a personal best for Bunnies, and he's gaining on Jam. He's made up about 1.2 seconds of the 1.3 that he had lost on the previous lap. Speckmere comparatively a 40.7 last lap, so dropping off the back of Bunnies. Matt Cycle around the outside of Intulu. I missed this. Let's take a quick look at what's going on here. He may have been on the inside, actually. Let's take a look with Intulu from this chase camera. It is Matt through, and Intulu nearly going down the inside of Matt. So very, very nearly a really excellent retaking of the position from Intulu. Not quite able to take it back, though. So it is Matt running in 6th. One car separates him and his target, his championship rival. Matt's sights, and well, I'd imagine Matt and Bunnies will both be thinking throughout this race, you know, having their sights set on whoever the driver in front of them is and wherever the other driver is between the two. They are very close in this championship. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. And of course, Constructors' Championship is much more difficult to calculate on the fly, so I won't be able to do that. Intulu, though, down to 7th. Daz in 8th, running nicely in the Tyrrell. He'll still be looking to gain some more positions, but he is, well, he's not actually gaining on Intulu. I thought he was for a moment, but I misread the numbers. That being said, Matt pulling away. Matt in the Renault doing very well for himself. Let's take a look back here. Aloe in the Lotus has been making the occasional mistakes, but his regular lap times, when he's not making a mistake, his lap times have been very solid recently. Solid lap times from Punisher as well, looking much more consistent for him, barring a couple mistakes on, say, the second and third laps from the looks of things. Pool Shark running nicely, Rob on drums, and Pat. Pat running a little bit wide at the at the hairpin, but managing nicely overall. Let's see this, though. Slenderfella, what is his gap looking like to Gasman? It was a 27-something, for, I don't know why that's what I'm comparing. It was about 7-second gap between Slenderfella and Gasman, as best I could tell. And let's take a look. Jam in third, running a little ways off the back of Gasman, with Bunnies right behind him. Jam and Bunnies both having quite good seasons this season. Jam having been, I believe, third, fourth, third, 10th, I'd like to say, in Sardinia. Jam, had he had a slightly better round in Sardinia, would be right up there in championship contention with Bunnies and Matt. But Jam, running in third at the moment, continuing his very consistent and very good season. Bunnies in fourth, Specmere in fifth, Matt Psycho in sixth, seventh is Intulu, eighth is Daz, ninth Aloe, and I have just run through the rest of the grid. 10th is Punisher, 11th Cool Shark, 12th Rob on Drums, and 13th is Pat. Pat running a little bit wide there through the S's. Gasman, let's take a look at what kind of a lap time he's... Oh, actually, I tell you what, Slenderfella into the pit lane on this lap. Lap 11, the fuel tank can go about 17, 18 laps, so he can make it to the end of the race from here, but that is bold, pitting quite early, I would think. Gasman staying out, Jam staying out, Bunny staying out, Specmere staying out, Rob staying out, and Tulu staying out. I imagine the rest of the grid will as well, so quite an early pit stop for Slenderfella. Daz actually pitting at the same time. So, as I say, I don't think anyone else will pit. Daz immediately proving me wrong. So, Slenderfella out of the pits, Daz into the pits, and Bunnies is ahead of Jam. I've just noticed Bunnies has just gotten ahead of Jam. What's happened here? So the Williams driver running in second. Now that Slenderfella is pitted, he's ways back from Gasman. Bunny's still a small distance behind him, and Jam just driving along, and oh, he looks like he has a snap of oversteer. Puts it in the grass, into the gravel. Bunnies is through. Jam rejoins the track, manages to stay nicely out of the way of Specmere, but Jam has lost a couple of positions. He's going to be under pressure from Matt Psycho now. Can the Renault driver make a move on the Williams? Suddenly, Matt is seeing fourth position in his sight. We'll see if he can make a move here into Degner 1. That won't happen, nor will it happen into Degner 2, I would think. A little bit of a snap of oversteer there for Jam. Jam just struggling for grip, and Matt is going to go through on what will be the inside for the right-hand kink, but the outside for the hairpin, and he's through into the braking zone. So Matt up into fourth, and Jam just dropping a few positions there after a rare mistake from the Williams driver. And the Renault driver of Matt, though, up into fourth, and only one car separates him and Bunnies at the moment in second and fourth, although it'll be interesting to see when this top group pits, when this top six pits, where will they be in comparison to Slenderfella? Slenderfella puts on the mediums though, so he'll have less grip and less pace throughout this second stint. However, of course he'll be ahead of Intulu. Intulu is almost an entire pit stop behind our net leader, but the question then just becomes, undercut or overcut, what is more powerful? Will Gasman, will Bunnies, will Specmere, will Jam, or will Matt and Jam, will they gain on Slenderfella? The only ones really with any chance of being ahead of Slenderfella would be, I would think, Gasman and maybe Bunnies. But it's hard to say, really. Matt Psycho into the pits off of his mediums. You can see the Renault-dressed pit crew there. And interesting to see how this pit stop will go. He's taking off the set of the mediums, so he'll be onto softs, and that'll be very good for his pace. Bunnies, his championship rival, currently on worn softs, both of them only with one set of softs, and the other thing to consider is that it could rain here at Suzuka. The clouds, the sky looking quite clear for the most part. Not many clouds. You can see some up there as we're on board with Gasman looking around at the clouds, but not many in the sky, not looking likely to rain at the moment, but we know from past experiences those things, the weather can come quite suddenly, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But nonetheless, looking good for Matt. He's on the softs now. What does Daz put on? He puts on the softs as well. He's also soft, medium, hard this round. So that is looking good for Daz. And let's take a look. Gasman, is he going to pit on this lap? It's lap 13. His softs are looking pretty dead, but Gasman chooses to stay out one more lap. Bunnies, with better tires at the moment, is he going to pit? It's worth watching all of these drivers. Bunnies chooses not to pit. How about Specmere? Specmere is looking pretty low on overtake, but he chooses not to pit. Jam and Intulu, we'll see if either of them pit. Does Jam pit? He chooses against it, and Tulu as well. Slenderfella, of course, stays out, having already pitted. Aloe in 7th, will he pit? Will he consider pitting? He does not. It's Punisher now in 8th. Will he pit off of the softs? Any time now for all of the soft runners is reasonable, I would think. He is not going to pit yet. Matt Psycho, obviously not going to pit. Neither is Daz. They've both just come out of the pits themselves. Oh, there's a mistake from Pat in the background at Spoon, but it looks like the two Americans here, Rob on drums and Pool Shark, it's an all-American battle here, and the two of them running close together. Pat gets going nicely. Rob on drums on the back of Pool Shark. Let's see, is he in the slipstream enough to make a move here? The Renault driver right behind the Mercedes. Pool Shark safe into turn 1. We'll take a look. We'll try and keep an eye on that battle more or less, but we want to take a look. We want to make sure we're watching these top guys. Let's compare the past times of the top 2. Let's take a look at their past 4 lap times. 39, 39, 40, 40. 39.2, 39.6, and then 240.5. It's been 39.4, 41.0, 39.9, and 39.8. So Bunny's overall gaining time on Gasman. Let's take a look. Does Gasman go into the pits? He does. Here on lap 14. We're halfway through the race, and Gasman is into the pits. What about Bunny's? Bunny's also heading into the pits in that McLaren. How about Spec Mirror? Let's take a look at him. He's on very worn softs. He's using more overtake, and he's not going into the pits. Surely Jam will, though. Jam on the mediums. Everyone else got their softs halfway through the race. Jam, he pits off the mediums. He'll be going onto the softs, presumably. Slenderfella is released out into 2nd. Still the net lead, though. Gasman, where will he come out? We wanted to compare between him and Slenderfella. Slenderfella comes out, or Slenderfella going through turn 2 now, Gasman starting turn 1. So not a massive gap between the two. It's hard to say whether the undercut or the overcut was more powerful. Both drivers having some slower and some faster lap times. Let's take a look here, though. Bunnies in 4th. I meant to go to Gasman. Gasman in 3rd. Specmere in 1st, even. Specmere well out in front in Degner 2, exiting Degner 2, starting the 2nd sector, the 3rd sector even, apologies, 4 sectors here today. Slenderfella, oh, it looks like Slenderfella might have made a mistake. He looked very slow out of Degner 2 there. Let's take a look at Slenderfella on board. Ooh, he runs a tiny bit wide at the entrance of both Degners. He's into the gravel, but he keeps it going very nicely. Well done there from Slenderfella. Good car control there. Gasman will benefit from that mistake, though. Gasman and Slenderfella, neither have ever won in Formula X or SNL as a whole, I believe. So the Ferrari and the Red Bull are both going to be going for this win today. And this McLaren Bunnies, he's the championship leader, or not championship leader, 2nd in the championship, net championship leader, though, for a reason. He is very quick, but Matt Psycho is gaining on him. Matt Psycho, a 38.7 last lap. Well, last lap was an in lap for Bunnies, but the lap before, a 39.8. Let's take a look at Matt Psycho. Can he gain on Bunnies? Can he overtake Bunnies? The Punisher now behind Matt Psycho. The Punisher was in front of him, and I'm sure for the sake of his teammate and for the sake of the Constructors' Championship, he probably will have tried to battle Matt Psycho, but we unfortunately missed that. Daz on the back of Punisher, though. The Tyrrell driver into the braking zone for Casino, I believe this chicane is called, makes it out nicely, and Punisher into the pits, so Daz won't have to worry about the traffic. It's a new fastest lap of the race for Matt, a 38 even, .134, a brilliant lap for the Renault driver. That is immense. That is truly an immense lap. The softs are paying dividends for the Renault driver. He's burning up his overtake. He's doing a great job at the moment. He has a little bit more than Bunnies does, and he'll be looking to gain on Bunnies now. Let's take a look, though, at overtake. There's something I should explain. As there's a yellow flag. There's a yellow flag. Who's that for? Might have been for Pat. I think it might have... Yes, I believe it was for Pat. Oh, as that is Pat there. Pat, unfortunately, making a mistake there. Bunny's behind him now. Let's take a look at the overtake. As I said, though, first off, let's take a look at Specmere. You'll notice he has a red light above the airbox, above the driver's head. That means he has 25% or less of his overtake left in the tank. Next up, we'll take a look at Slenderfella. His light is green because he has 25% or more of his overtake left as Matt Psycho is losing time, losing positions. He's in the gravel, and he's gone. Matt Psycho's gone. What has happened to Matt? Matt Psycho through the hairpin. He just set the fastest lap of the race. He's on another lap, and his car just goes completely dead. His car into the barriers, just running along the circuit in the gravel, and he's out. He's out. He disappears just a moment from now, as we saw. Matt Psycho just losing positions, and Matt Psycho's out of the race. Matt Psycho will be getting disconnect points, so it's not 100% guaranteed championship for Bunnies, but Bunnies will see this now, and he will know he is, as long as he doesn't completely flub up this race, he will be the champion. He'll be the first two-time champion in in Formula X, apologies. Matt Psycho or Bunnies, they were going to be the first two-time champion, the Season 6 champion and the Season 3 champion. Bunnies Season 6, as you can see by the number 1, Matt Psycho Season 3. But, wow, that is a sudden turn of events, and that is Matt Psycho out of the race. And I can confirm his PS5 just shutting off suddenly, potentially overheating, not sure. Matt Psycho says his PS5 wasn't like crazy hot or anything, but wow, that is a very sudden turn of events, and suddenly Bunnies looking like he is in absolutely prime position to win this championship. Maybe such a good lap it was. Oh dear, what was that? That was loud. That was a lot of tires screeching. I think that might have been Pat. Pat in the Red Bull. Oh dear, what's happened here? Ooh, he runs wide, he's on the AstroTurf, he touches the gravel, and he's into the barrier. A very dramatic looking crash there for Pat, unfortunately. Waits for most of the cars to get going, and he's out of the way. Oh, mostly, it looked like Jam might have had a little bit of trouble there getting past him. Hard to say. Jam looks to be okay, though. But that is Matt Psycho out of the race. Pat joking that maybe such a good lap was enough to kill his car. Who knows? Maybe he just, pushed too hard and the car didn't like it. Either way, Matt Psycho out of the race, unfortunately. And Bunnies, as I said, looking in brilliant position to win this championship. We'll have to wait and see, though. It's not over yet. And Gasman, right on the back of Slenderfella, the Ferrari driver, is sat directly on the back of the Red Bull. We're here on lap 17. Everything has been going down in the past couple of laps. And now we have a fight for the provisional lead. Speckmere still needing to pit. Look at those dead softs. Unbelievable that he's brought them this far. But now it's the two medium runners in second and third, Gasman and Slenderfella. They're gonna fight it out here for what will be the provisional lead, surely. Slenderfella pulling away slightly. Gasman is in that dirty air. Gasman can't do it. Oh, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Bunny's a little ways off the back of that group. Daz completely in no man's land. Well, Bunny's even more in no man's land than Daz, but Daz in sort of no man's land, and Jam little ways off the back of Daz. Let's take a look at their most recent lap times. As it looks like Daz pulling away even slightly. In Tulu in 7th, it's Aloy in 8th, 9th is Punisher, 10th is Rob on Drums, but he's in the pits. Bullshark will overtake him into 10th. That'll be Rob on Drums in 11th, and Pat in 12th. So Speckmere leads the way as it stands. 10 laps to go at the end of this one. Slenderfella and Gasman fighting for the provisional lead. Speckmere in the on-track lead, but look at that. He's 3.8 seconds down on his fastest lap on this occasion. Surely this will be Speckmere into the pits on this lap. Speckmere through the final chicane. It looked like he was pretty far to the inside, and he was. He's into the pit lane. So, Slenderfella will take the lead. Gasman will take second. Bunnies, if he's close enough, will take third. We'll have to wait and see how that strategy plays out for Speckmere. I believe soft hard for him. Slenderfella into the lead. Slenderfella leads the race again in the Red Bull. Then it's Gasman in second, the pole sitter in second. Bunnies, the provisional champion in third. Daz in fourth, running greatly for Tyrrell. Fifth goes to Jam as it stands. Speckmere comes out of the pits in sixth though. Seventh is Intulu at the moment. Speckmere out of the pits on the hards. We'll see if Intulu's softs pay dividends and get him ahead of Speckmere. Speckmere will also be looking to push up towards Jam. If Jam's softs wear out towards the end of the race, Speckmere could be a powerful opponent if he's still close to Jam. Worn softs are deadly slow, but fresh softs are unbelievably quick, so it's really a game of managing your tires if you're on the softs. This top three, all on mediums though. Daz on the softs, Jam on the softs, Speckmere on the hards, Intulu on the softs, Aloe on the softs, Punisher on the softs, Fool Shark on the softs, and softs for Rob on drums and Pat as well. It was Pat makes a mistake. He holds it very nicely though. Well done to the Red Bull for that. That was an impressive save. But here comes Gasman. He's on the back of Slenderfella still in the Ferrari behind the Red Bull. It's a battle that will decide the race winner come the end of the race, surely, unless Bunnies is gaining on them. They're all in the 40s, but Bunnies in the low 40s, so minutely gaining on these two. Gasman right on the back of Slenderfella. Surely this is his opportunity. The Ferrari driver's in the slipstream with the overtake. He goes to the inside. He's through on Slenderfella into the race lead. Goes Gasman. Slenderfella, he'll have the dirty air through the S's. Will he be able to maintain second, or will he be able to hold on to the back of Gasman? He's just slipping slightly further back through the dirty air. He's doing nicely to keep on the back of Gasman, but it's not perfect. You could see the compromised line he took into Dunlop there. It's not quite what he wanted, and I need a sip of water. It's a mistake for Slenderfella in the dirty air. Degner 2 not working the way the Red Bull driver needed it to. The car just understeering from the looks of things in the dirty air. Gasman leads the way. He's now got a noticeable gap. Gasman is looking comfortable out in first. He touches the grass there. Gotta be careful with that, Gasman. You don't want to put yourself out into the barriers. But through Spoon, Gasman keeps it clean. Let's take a look at Slenderfella in second. He's not too far ahead of Bunnies now. Bunnies, our net championship leader. He's looking like he's going to take the championship. He's in third, but he won't want to stop now. Bunnies will continue to push onwards for second, even for first if he can. Last lap, he was faster than both of the drivers in front of him, so he is gaining on them. Daz in fourth, running an excellent race, all things considered. He started in 13th. He's running in fourth. The Tyrrell driver doing excellently at the moment. Jam in fifth, also doing quite well, and Jam gaining slightly on Daz. So Jam, the two long-time SNL drivers, doing nicely. And Daz, it was great to see. It's great to see his full-time return. It's gone so well. He's gonna want to take fourth in the final round of his full-time return to Formula X. Last time he was full-time would have been season 4. He won a race then. It's not looking like he's going to do that this season, but he's doing very well nonetheless. Speckmere in 6th. He's still ahead of Aloe. Aloe on the softs. Aloe is actually going to be a big challenge for Speckmere in the coming few laps. And we'll see the two Lotus drivers often seen very close together on track. That is a trend I've noticed all season long. Very impressive that the two of them can always be so close together. Let's take a look further up. Slenderfella and Bunnies. Let's see, Slenderfella last up at 144.444, comparatively a 139.869 for Bunnies. So Bunnies is gaining on Slenderfella every single lap. We'll see if he continues to do that. Let's quickly run you through the grid, how it stands at the moment on lap 21. Gasman is in first, Slenderfella is in second, third is Bunnies, 4th is Daz. 5th goes to Jam at the moment. 6th and 7th are the 2 Lotuses. It's Aloe and Specmir. I'll go back to running through the grid in a moment, because it looks like Aloe's going to go round the outside into Spoon. He's through into the braking zone, and Aloe takes 6th position. Specmir's down to 7th, but he's off track. He hits the AstroTurf. He's nearly round. A nice save from the Brit keeps him on track, more or less, but he's down to 8th as Intulu overtakes into 7th. Intulu, known to go pretty decently well here at Suzuka. Intulu, not his first time in the Ferrari. He was in the Ferrari last week. He was in the Ferrari in Season 4. As the teammates battle, says Hot Dog Cup. They do indeed, and unfortunately, Specmir losing out quite substantially from that. Punisher in 9th. 10th is Rob on drums. There's a yellow flag. I can't tell who it's for. Who is it? It's, I think that's Pat, unfortunately. Pool Shark in 11th. And 12th, as I said, is Pat. Pat, unfortunately, yes, the one who made that mistake. Fastest lap of the race at the moment goes to Matt Cycle, 138.134. But the big story for him is that he disconnected after his PS5 suddenly shut off. And that seemingly will give the championship to Bunnies as it stands. Bunnies on the back of Slenderfella. He's still gaining. And let's see, who else is close together at the moment? Nobody actually overly close together. Jam and Daz are quite close together, actually. Jam's still gaining on Daz. Bunny's quite close to the back of Slenderfella now. Bunny's going to have the slipstream. He's using the overtake. He's got less than a quarter left, but he's got a little bit more than Slenderfella. Let's take a look at Gasman. Gasman out in front. He's not really at risk from these two, but he's got a little bit more overtake than either of them. Bunny's here. Let's take a look at these two even. Jam with more overtake than Daz, so it's advantage Jam if he can catch up to Daz fully and overtake him. Nobody else overly close together other than that that sort of duo of battles there with Slenderfella and Bunnies. Bunnies is in the slipstream, actually. He's going to go for a move down to turn 1, possibly. He moves to the inside. He moves to the outside. He's going to be around the outside of turn 1. He makes the move into turn 1 on the outside. He's around the outside of Slenderfella, and he's into P2. The Canadian, the championship the net championship leader, is into P2, past Slenderfella around the outside, and that was a nice move from the Canadian. He'll set his sights on Gasman, but with 5-6 laps to go, that will be a tough challenge. I don't think Bunnies can get to the lead of this race. Gasman is a very quick driver. He is gaining on Gasman, but not substantially, as there's a small mistake from Slenderfella through Degner too. He's fallen off the back of Bunnies already, and he won't have an opportunity to re-overtake him, I don't think, unless there's a mistake from Bunnies, as Slenderfella falling increasingly farther away from Bunnies. But it's Daz and Jam. I tell you what, those two very close together. Jam running behind Daz. And just in the Williams, he's running there. Is he in the slipstream of Daz? Let's go on board with him to figure that out. Oh, his apologies, nearly went backwards in the replay. Yeah, Jam sitting there. He looks like he's just on the tail end of Daz's slipstream, I would estimate. I'd say probably about 2.5 seconds back. Let's take a look. That was not a good way of comparing it. I'll compare the times as they go over the finish line of the lap. Let's see, Daz. Let's see what time he crosses the line at. Okay, so only actually about a second separating these two, maybe a second and a half, maybe. Jam is still gaining on Daz. Jam, in the Williams, he's going to be in the championship, well, he's not in a championship battle, but he's in a battle for 3rd against Daz, and tell you what, he's not doing too bad. He's a point ahead of Daz in the championship, and he's a position behind him in the race. If Jam can get past Daz, Jam will hold 3rd in the championship. If he can't, though, he'll drop down to 4th. And Daz will take 3rd. So it's very close between these two. The blue and white cars do battle. They're not overly close together yet, but they are going to be soon from the looks of things, as Jam continuously gaining more on Daz. Let's take a look slightly further back. Is there anybody else battling? Unfortunately, there is not. Pat sitting in the pits, I think sort of giving up from the race, trying not to get in anybody's way. Sportsmanlike from him. to try and stay out of the way. Hot Dog Cup saying art of commentating can add so much to a race. Good job. Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind comment. And was holding out for rain as long as possible. Alas, no rain, says Christian Little. I'm going to be completely honest and say I don't actually know who that would be. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe Slender Fella, but I'm really not sure. Oh, maybe Speckmere, actually. Might be Speckmere, because Speckmere pitted quite late. But 25, 26, 27, 28, 4 laps to go, just under 4 laps to go. Gasman leads the way here in first, number 89, running nicely. Bunny's still gaining on him, though, with just over 3.5 laps left to go. The gap looks a bit insurmountable, but you can see Bunny's pushing on. He's still setting solid lap times in the 39s. He'll be looking to take the victory, but he's surely too far back. Let's not worry about that too much at the moment. But I tell you what, Slenderfella running very nicely in 30s, doing great for himself. He led the way for some time. Speckmere says, okay, thank you for confirming that. Appreciate it. So yeah, Speckmere trying to stay out, hold out for the rain. Unfortunately, none came with 10 laps to go, so making the reasonable decision to pit. And so yeah, Slenderfella here in third, though, doing an excellent job. Kudos to the Red Bull driver, honestly. He's been very, very good today. Managing third at the moment. Ran in first for some time, ran in second for a little bit, but it's Daz and Jam that are particularly close together, both in the championship and in this race. Let's see how this goes. Come on, boys. Do some good battling. This is what we all want to see, is 2 long-term SNL members doing battle in the final round of the championship for third in the championship. Let's see how these two do. Let's see. Jam and Daz going on to the 3-lap remaining mark. Jam in the Williams. He's in the slipstream of the Tyrrell of Daz. Let's take a look at Daz so we can get more views of hopefully both of them, as the cameras just seem to hate focusing on 2 drivers. Great. But Jam in 5th, right behind Daz. And the Williams is going to be looking to do some battle with Daz. I was definitely nervous of Bunnies in last 5 laps, says Gasman in the chat. Yeah, Bunnies definitely. Actually, good. Oh goodness, look at the track map. Bunnies is actually gaining continuously on Gasman. 3 laps to go, 2.5 laps to go even at this point, really. And Bunnies gaining 1.1 seconds a lap at the moment. That's what he gained last time. Gained 9/10 on the previous lap. Slenderfella falling back from the 2 of them. Those 2 running very quickly out in front, but it's Jam on the back of Daz. Slenderfella, I pitted too early, says Slenderfella. Thank you for, first of all, confirming who you are. That makes it a lot easier for me. But pitted too early, says Slenderfella. Unfortunate for the Red Bull driver, but I tell you what, he's still managing very nicely there in third. Maybe could have been better strategy, but he's doing very well, and it's great that he can acknowledge that himself, because that will definitely mean that he'll be able to improve upon it in future. It's Jam in the slipstream of Daz. He's going to go to the outside of 130R. Can he make the move? Round the outside. Daz holds it on the inside. It's going to be into Casino if there's a move. No, Daz holds off. Daz in the Tyrrell manages to maintain position in 4th position. Jam nearly making it through at 130R, but he's going to have another go at it down towards turn 1 before the end of the lap, even just about. Jam is through into 4th. Daz is out of overtake. Jam has a little bit more left. He can use it. Stay ahead into turn 1. Jam takes P4. Jam takes P3 in the championship and P4 on the road. Jam doing very well. We've got 2 laps to go, and he's ahead of Daz now. Daz falling behind in the Tyrrell. A great defense there, but just not enough. Jam making it through very, very nicely. Taking a look further back, let's run you through the grid with just over a lap and a half to go. Bunny's getting increasingly close to Gasman again. Actually, extremely similar lap times on the previous lap, though. Both 39.9s, a tiny bit of time gain for Bunnies, though. It's Gasman in first, Bunnies in second, third is Slenderfella, 4th is Jam, 5th is Daz, 6th is Aloe. Aloe's not too far off the back of these 2. I don't think he'll have time to gain the 2, to overtake the 2 of them. or really truly catch either of them, but he's not far off the back of them, it must be said. In Tulu in 7th, 8th is Specmere, 9th is Punisher, 10th is Rob on drums, 11th is Poolshark, and 12th is Pat. So, Gasman in first is on the penultimate lap. He's about to start the final lap. I believe in NASCAR they wave a white flag at this point. Gasman crosses the line. He's just about run himself out of overtake. Not quite. He's got a tiny bit left. Bunnies has none left. But these two very close together, and Bunnies back to gaining 1.2 seconds on Gasman last lap. Bunnies is really gaining hand over fist. These two drivers extremely similar on the wear for the mediums, but Bunnies, oh look at that shot, that is a beautiful shot of the S's, a Ferrari and a McLaren, then it's a Red Bull. Where have I seen this before? Early 2010s, really. I mean, I think like Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, for example. That just brilliant to see. And then we got the Williams and the Tyrrell, Jam and Daz in 4th and 5th. They are quite close together. It looks like there might have been a mistake for Aloe. Aloe's going slowly. So let's go back and see what's happened to Aloe. Aloe, was I mistaken? Did he make a mistake? Oh dear, he did make a mistake, and that is a terrible camera view. We'll just take a look at it again. Let's go on board with him, and I tell you what, take this onboard camera. What has happened here? Aloe, he runs wide onto this AstroTurf. He'll have a bit less grip suddenly, hits the curb, and he's round at the S. So, nobody too close to him, so no worries there for an unsafe rejoin. And let's take a look, his teammate back there in 8th, and his but his rival in the championship, Gasman, leading the way. Specmere and Gasman equal on points going into this race. Gasman in 1st now. Gasman, the McLaren of Bunnies is really not far behind him, it must be said, but Bunnies is too far back. Surely today will be a Gasman win for the first time in SNL history. We'll have to wait and see. 3-130R and Casino still to go. Daz on the back of Jam. He'll be looking at the back of that Williams, wondering what he could do to get past, but surely he's too far back as well. Back up to the front of the grid, though. It's Gasman through the final couple of corners. Gasman in the Ferrari. He's gonna take it home to win his first ever SNL race. Gasman wins at Suzuka, and Bunnies is champion of the world in Season 7. Bunnies takes the championship, Gasman takes the win. Slenderfella rounds out the podium in 3rd. An excellent result for all of those top 3, each of them individually with so much that they should be pleased with. Jam takes 4th and 3rd in the championship with that. Daz takes 5th. In 4th in the championship, I believe that would mean. Aloe is gonna come home in 6th in the Lotus. 7th will be in Tulu. As a reserve, an excellent result for the Portuguese driver. Specmere in 8th. It's going to be Punisher in 9th. Punisher not far off the back of Specmere. Punisher could get him if there were 1 or 2 more laps to go. Same with the other McLaren potentially trying to get the win, but it's Specmere 8th, Punisher 9th. 10th is going to be Rob. 11th will be Poolshark, and 12th will be Pat. Let's take a look. Rob on drums through 130R. The Renault driver. It's going to be the last time we get to see this beautiful Renault this season. We'll see how it does. They were in the lead of the Constructors' Championship, but I tell you, going into this round, but I tell you what, if my calculations are correct, I think McLaren's won the Constructors as well as the drivers. Rob on drums comes home 10th for the American. It's the second of the 2 Americans. Poolshark, he's going to be 11th. And then we'll have Pat, but for now it's Poolshark in 11th. It's a nice result for the Mercedes driver. And last but not least, it's going to be Pat. Pat sitting in the pits for a little while, allowing drivers to just go by without worrying about him being in the way, presumably. And Pat, though, he's going to come to the end. He's going to have the longest lap of the race compared to Matt's fastest lap, 138.134 from Matt. Pat, though, is going to be over 12 minutes on this lap. And Pat, through Casino, through the final chicane, he's going to be through the final corner in just a moment. The Red Bull is going to come across the line. He's going to round out Season 7. It's going to be the end of Season 7. Wow. What a season. What an absolutely fantastic season this has been. First of all, Congratulations to Gasman on the win. He is your victor today. Can I get a point for the slowest lap, says Pat. I will petition to Jam myself to ask that you do. I think that's brilliant. Good job. No, but Gasman takes the lead, apologies. Gasman takes the win of the race in Suzuka, and it's his first ever SNL win in Formula X, no less. Wow. Well done to you, sir. Gasman taking the win of the race, and Bunnies takes the win of the championship. The McLaren driver is going to be the first ever two-time champion in Formula X history, and he's going to do it as a 2 times in a row champion, emulating in a way Alberto Ascari there, being the first multiple-time world champion and doing them both twice in a row. But if that means anything, I think that would just mean that Cool Dude Boy is going to come back and win 4 more, because he'd be the Fangio in this situation, having won the season before Bunny's got his first. That is kind of irrelevant, just sort of little parallels there. But Bunny's taking the championship, Slenderfella taking a podium, excellent driving from that top 3, all of them, as I said, when they cross the line, should be proud of themselves for their individually excellent results. Slenderfella 3rd, though. Jam takes 4th, 5th is Daz. Jam doing great there. He'll take 3rd in the championship with that. Daz taking 5th in the race. He'll be 4th in the championship, but what a recovery drive. From 13th on the grid to 5th in the race, and he was right up there in 4th for some time until Jam got him with a couple laps left to go. Aloe in 6th. It's been a solid season for the Lotus driver. Pat yourself on the back, Aloe, I'd say. You've had a brilliant season, really. In Tulu, excellent result as a reserve in the Ferrari. Hope to see him back next season, truth be told, because he has been very, very quick every time he's raced, especially on this game, in Toyota in Season 5, in Brabham in Season 6, in the Ferrari for a couple rounds in Season 7. Hopefully he'll be back for Season 8, and I'm sure we'll have a Season 8. Although it hasn't been announced yet, we've only just finished Season 7. Speckmere in 8th, he does lose a position to Gasman in the championship. Gasman does beat him, having gotten 1st in this race, and Speckmere down in 8th, but a great result in the championship overall from Speckmere nonetheless. 9th for Punisher, a very good race for him today, and with that, I believe the McLarens will take the Constructors' Championship, so congratulations to the 2 McLaren drivers, to Bunnies for the Drivers' Championship, to Bunnies and Punisher for the Constructors' Championship. It's the Canadian Power Team that reigns supreme this season, and 10th is Rob on drums. The Renault driver just barely not able to defend, to take the Constructors' Championship after his teammates disconnect. Poolshark in 11th, a solid race today, all things considered, and Pat just sort of not the race he will have wanted, but overall a solid season. We saw some definite flashes of brilliance from the Red Bull driver. Matt Psycho unfortunately disconnecting today, 2nd in the championship for him, the Season 3 champion, not quite able to double up on it, but an excellent fastest lap from him, it must be said, a 138.134, and it is a story, though, of what could have been if he hadn't had that disconnect, that PS5 shutting off. But nonetheless, that is Season 7 of Formula X for you. You can see our most recent race winner and our championship winner. Let's just go into race photos and take a look at them, because I'll see if there's a better angle that has both of them even. Well, I'll just go into... But, tell you what, there's our race winner, there's our champion, and the 2 of them, well-deserved, I'd say, both of them running excellent races and seasons, respectively. I mean, both of them, really. Gasman, even, as well, running an excellent season, I would say. Everyone in this grid, there's nobody on this grid that I would say had a bad season. This grid is so competitive, so thank you to everybody who raced, and thank you to everybody who watched and commented. Appreciate all the positive comments on this video, and, well, tell you what, next season, we've got Season 8 of GTE coming up in just a few weeks, and unfortunately I don't know the provisional standings for Formula X this week, didn't have time to calculate them, but if you're in the Discord, I believe there might be a link to it in the bio of the channel. I'm not entirely certain, though, admittedly, but surely there must be. But yeah, they're yeah, what a fantastic season though. Season 8 of GTE coming up, and all I can say really is that that is one phenomenal grid coming up. That is genuinely one of the strongest grids. I mean, today we got to see one of the strongest grids in Formula X this season, I should say. We had one of the strongest grids yet in SNL, but I tell you what, next season of GTE is going to be unbelievably strong. Some old faces returning, some new drivers to GTE, so some old, as I said, some old faces returning, and of course, the recent drivers as well returning. It's been a blast this season. Thank you to everyone who accompanied me on this 5 race journey of a season. That is that, though, for Season 7 of Formula X. Thank you to everybody who watched. Congratulations to our champions, Bunnies for the drivers, and McLaren of Bunnies, and Punisher for the constructors. Congratulations to Gasman for the new race win. Congratulations to Slenderfella for the podium. Congratulations to everyone on the grid, really. It's been an excellent season. Thank you to all who watched.